Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a highly requested video. It's kind of different than what I've usually done, and this is going to be my favorite Morphe brushes. So Morphe is my favorite brand for brushes and eyeshadows. They're unbeatable in price. There's no one that has more affordable brushes for the same quality as Morphe. Morphe is exploding on Instagram. I knew it would. If you go back to my first videos, you will see me using Morphe a ton, a lot of palette tutorials. I use the Jaclyn Hill palette to death, and I literally am still obsessed with it to this day. I love their brushes. I love their stuff. They're just a great company. They're exploding on Instagram, and there's a reason for that. You just cannot beat their price for the quality that you're getting. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through today. I try to narrow it down to my ultimate favorites. There's a lot of, you know, like for foundation or blush or whatever it may be, there's 3 or 4 brushes that I rotate, but I tried to get it down to 2 per category. There's a 3, I think, in some of the categories. So I'm gonna try to keep this quick and sweet and to the point. So hopefully you guys will find some inspiration and some brushes that maybe you don't own. And if you're looking for a brush, I'm telling you, these are the most affordable brushes that you can get. I do have a coupon code with Morphe, which I feel extremely honored to have. They don't just affiliate with anyone. So it's really nice to be able to be part of the Morphe family, and it will save you 10%, and it also is an affiliate code. So if you choose to use it, I totally appreciate it. If you're not comfortable, you definitely don't have to. It's up to you guys. So thank you guys again for supporting me, and let's get into my favorite brushes. So I'm gonna start out with face, which would be foundation. I have 3 brushes that I rotate through Morphe, but I wanted to narrow it down to my top 2. These are absolute cannot live withouts. So I'm gonna go with my favorite one first, and this is the Elite Collection Morphe E6. It's just a flat top kind of kabuki brush. This is phenomenal for putting on foundation, especially for someone like me who loves full coverage. You guys know this. It just buffs it on so nicely, and it's really dense, so you're gonna get that full coverage, but it's not so dense that it's wiping your foundation back and forth. I know I've had some issues with some other brands. When you're buffing it, it's so dense that it's pulling your foundation and sliding it around. This actually buffs it into the skin, and I noticed this helps with pore size as well. I feel like when I really get in there, and if I'm trying to get a heavier coverage, I can kind of stipple it. But this is my #1 foundation brush. Absolutely obsessed with this brush. I think this is something that is great for anyone that loves full coverage and is looking for a great kind of kabuki brush for your foundation. The next brush is a little bit different, and I found this technique from watching Dress Your Face, Tamana from Dress Your Face, and this is the Morphe M442. This is a stippling brush. It's not as dense, so I find that I like to use this with super full coverage foundations. So let's say you have a Kat Von D Lock-It foundation or the Estee Lauder Double Wear or something that's super heavy, and you're finding that it's getting really cakey on your face. Try using a stippling brush. It's not completely, I guess, I wouldn't say it's super dense, but it's also not very fluffy. It's kind of right in the middle. It's perfect. So if you have a super heavy foundation, you can kind of like buff this on and also stipple it on, and it kind of shears it out a little bit, but it still gives you full coverage. You guys know that I wear only full coverage. So sometimes when I'm using the super heavy duty foundations, a buffing brush might be a little too much. So this is giving me a little bit more give, and it's not going to be so cakey. It's going to kind of thin it out, but I'm still keeping that coverage. So next I want to move on to powdering or bronzing the face. There's 2 brushes that I have for this category. One I've recently fallen in love with, and you've seen me use it in tutorials, and it is Dirty because I love it. That's how you know I love it. This is the Morphe E2, again from the Elite Collection. Absolutely phenomenal brush. So fluffy, super dense, just beautiful. So I use this to set my foundation. So if I'm using like my IT Cosmetics powder foundation or translucent powder, anything like that, it's just nice to kind of set. It covers a lot of ground, it's super quick, and it's just really beautiful. It feels expensive, but it's not. It's on the higher end of the Morphe pricing, the Elite ranges, but they feel expensive. They're gorgeous brushes. I mean, look how densely packed this is. There's so much in this brush. Definitely want to mention this. This can also be for bronzer. If you just want to have that sun-kissed kind of glow, definitely use this for bronzer. So the next one is one that I just got in the mail. I've been buying some new brushes because I knew that I was going to want to talk about them, and I've absolutely fallen in love with. And this is the Morphe M527. It looks like this, and it's a little bit less dense. It's more of a fluffy brush. I feel like this would be better and more precise for kind of bronzing up the face, whereas the other one could be bronzing or powder and setting your foundation. This is good. I believe, I'm not sure if this is the one that Jaclyn Hill said is a MAC dupe. It could be. And MAC, I believe, is like $40, $30 a brush, and I believe this one is maybe $12. I will link everything down below if you're interested, but I definitely wanted to mention this. I had played around with this last week for a little bit, and I am in love with this brush. But I would talk about contouring. I love my Delium Tools brush, but as far as Morphe, there's one brush that is really stealing the show for contouring, and this is the Elite Morphe E4. It looks like this. This could be used for blush, which I have used it for that as well, but this is the best brush in my opinion for contouring from the Morphe website. It is slanted, you can see it has that typical kind of contour shape. As you can see, I've used it for blush, but it's just really nice and small and compact, and it gets right in there and you can contour your cheeks. So definitely my pick for contouring is the Morphe E4. I have two brushes that are blush brushes, and they are favorites of mine. One I prefer a little bit more, and I'll go into that. The one that I'm absolutely raving about is the Morphe M141. It looks like this. Again, you could use this to bronze, but I find that it's just the perfect size to just put some blush on. I'm absolutely in love with this. You've seen me use it in a lot of tutorials. This is my #1 go-to, and I believe it's like $6, and I'm not kidding. $6. Literally, it does not get cheaper than that. This is why I love Morphe. I don't find that it sheds. It's not, I've washed this brush probably 6 or 7 times now, and it's held up. I haven't had anything weird. The handle is secure. It's not pulling off. This is why I love to support a company like this, because I know that even me, who is a makeup fanatic, I have a hard time spending more than like $20 on a brush. I like to stay in the 10 to 15 range if possible. So the fact that this is like $6 is absolutely crazy. And the next one that I wanted to mention, which again, the Elite collection is so good. This is the Morphe E3. It looks like this, and it's almost like a pointed kind of duo fiber brush. And this brush is perfect for blush as well. You can see it kind of like balls out and then gets slimmer at the end. You could also, again, use this for bronzing. You could use this to do a light contour if you use really the tip of the brush. So I wanted to mention this. This one is really beautiful and it diffuses your blush, and this one is perfect for blush as well. So for highlighting, there's two brushes I want to talk about. One is my absolute favorite, and I learned about this through Jaclyn Hill. This is the Morphe M501. I would have never thought to use this for highlighter. I would have thought maybe for buffing out like really kind of diffusing colors in your crease. But this is perfect for highlighter. You guys have seen me use this a ton of times in my videos. It just goes right there. It's perfect, and it's so soft, and I don't know how to describe it. It makes my highlighter look more pronounced, which is what I want if you like dramatic highlighters. So I definitely wanted to mention this one. This is a top favorite of mine, the Morphe M501. One is more traditional, and this is a fan brush. This is the Morphe M601, and this is a smaller fan brush, which I prefer. It's a little bit denser than typical fan brushes that I'd owned, and it just fits right on your cheekbone and does a really good job at adding some highlight. It is just the perfect size. I feel like it's not too large. A lot of fan brushes can be quite big, and I feel like it's hard to fit it on your tops of your cheekbones. So I definitely wanted to mention this. This is my second one that I grab for all the time. So a recent favorite that I saw on Instagram someone using, this is the Morphe M458. I have been loving this for nose contour. I kind of switch back and forth, but if I'm using a powder to contour my nose, I'm definitely going to be reaching for this. I feel like it's a really small, and it's just like the perfect size to kind of go down the sides of your nose, and it's not too dense to where it kind of pulls your foundation off. It's just dense enough to give you that nose contour. So on days when I'm really lazy or in a hurry, instead of using a cream product, I reach for this. So this is the Morphe M458. I mention this brush because I do use it every day. This is again from the Elite collection, and this is what I use to clean up my brows with concealer. This is the Morphe E11. It's a slanted brush, and I think you could use it for brows, but because I don't have much brows to work with, I use it to clean up. So I basically just put concealer on it and just kind of sweep it right underneath my brows, and it's just really sharp and cleans up my brows nicely. This is my favorite. I've been using it for probably a couple months religiously, and I definitely had to mention this. So next I want to talk about eyes. I'm going to start with the one brush that you can use to pack color on your lid, but really there's a bunch of options. This is just the one that I reach for the most. This is from the Gunmetal collection, and this is a Morphe G13. This is synthetic and duo fiber, something super shimmery that you want to kind of pack on your lid. What I do is I'll spray this with some Fix Plus from MAC, and then I just kind of really pack it on my lid. There's a few brushes from the Gunmetal line that will work, but this is just one of my favorites. There's a couple more that are a little bit larger, so this is the more precise one. So I definitely reach for this a lot, and I find that it's just really nice to pack it on my lid. Sometimes with flat synthetic brushes from other brands, it can kind of move the product around, whereas this just kind of packs it on. I'm going to talk about two brushes for the lower lash line, the ones that I grab for the most, and this is the Morphe B42. This is the fluffier of the two, and I use this a lot. You see me using it a lot, just sweeping, kind of blowing out the product under my eyes or eyeshadow. So if you want a messy, kind of smoky look, definitely go for this Morphe B42, and if I remember correctly, I think this is literally like $3. It might be $3. So check everything down below. Again, I will list everything down below, but I believe this is super affordable. Next one is more precise if you want more of a defined lower lash line. So you can kind of smoke it out with the first brush and then use this brush to really kind of get close to that lower lash line and make it look almost like liner. And this is the Morphe E36. This is again from the Elite collection. This is the smallest kind of bullet brush that I have. But I also find that it's dense, but it's not too dense. So it really kind of sweeps nicely back and forth. So I definitely wanted to mention this is becoming a favorite of mine, and I've been using it in tutorials and everyday life a lot lately, and realizing that at first I thought it might be a little too small, but it actually works really nicely if you want a dark color to really smoke out your lower lash line. The last brushes I want to talk about are blending brushes or crease brushes or eyeshadow brushes. I tried to narrow it down. There's actually probably 10 that would really work, and I kind of rotate through them, but I picked my top 4, so I'm going to share them first. The first one is the Morphe E27. There's a lot of similar ones, but I find this one is almost like a Sigma E35. It just really is great for the crease, for a transition shade, or your first couple shades if you really want to kind of just blow something out and just kind of get a transition shade in there. I've been loving this, so I would use this first, usually for the first 1 or 2 shades, and then if I want more precise, I would use a different brush, but this is perfect just to start your map for your transition shade or your crease. And the next one is similar, but it's more of a pointed tip. This is the Morphe M504, and it has that kind of tapered pointed tip. So whereas the other one kind of flares out, I don't know if you can see, this one flares out and this one goes pointed. So very different, but they have similar concepts. And this one is great again for the crease. I would use this for my first or second shade. You can also use a really light hand and kind of just use the tip to get a precise kind of in your crease color. So I definitely want to mention this. This is the Morphe M504. This next one is very similar as well. You see me using this a lot. This is the Morphe G17. This is very similar to the first brush that I showed you. And again, it's just duo fiber synthetic, just kind of flares out. It's perfect to do your first couple shades. I use this a ton in tutorials. I know you guys have seen me use this. So this is one that I definitely want to mention, and I just feel like this is such a good blending brush. It's just really easy to kind of blend stuff through your crease, and I know that sometimes it can be difficult if you're new to makeup, so you definitely want brushes that are going to make your life easier and make blending easier for you. And the last brush I wanted to mention is the Morphe M412, and it looks like this. It's a little bit smaller, so it's nice for more precise, just in your fold. If you're kind of like, you don't want to blow it out, you just want to literally like get some color in there and really make it deep And you can also use this to smoke out your lower lash line as well. This is one that I've been grabbing for lately. I believe this is from the Flawless collection, so it's one of their newer ones that they released, and I have been pulling for it a lot. It's just kind of unique. It's just small enough to work really nicely in the crease, but it can also be used to really kind of smoke things out if you choose to do so. So this is the Morphe M504. Alright guys, so that is it for me. I tried to keep it short and sweet, and I tried to narrow it down to my absolute favorites. There's so many brushes that I rotate through. Like I said, 3 to 5 brushes for each kind of purpose, and then the eye brushes I rotate quite a bit, maybe 10 to 15, but they are my top favorites. These are the ones that I pull for the most, and they're so affordable. Like I said, I have a coupon code, so if you're interested in saving 10%, you can definitely use it. I will link it down below, and I will link every brush that I talked about down below. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments. You guys know I love talking to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have so many videos coming your way, so I'll see you in the next video.